Hello everybody and welcome to You're Off the Case, the Memorial Cup playoff preview show. I'm Clayton Johns, and joining me from his home in Kamloops, British Columbia is Jamie Shinkewski. And Jamie, we're going to go through each one of these teams that will be contesting for the 2012 Mastercard Memorial Cup. And we'll start out west in the province of Alberta with the Edmonton Oil Kings. Jamie, they had a great year this year. You'll take us through that year. But it's still not the favorite heading into this tournament, but just how good is this team?
Well, they're indeed a good team, Clayton. Interestingly enough, the number one seed in each league won their league and will be representing them at the Memorial Cup. Edmonton had the most points in the CHL with 107, leading the WHL as the regular season champs, and only lost 4 games in the playoffs as they swept the Kootenay Ice in the first round 4-0. As well as 4-0 sweep against the Brandon Wheat Kings in the second round. 1 loss in a 4-1 series victory against the Moose Jaw Warriors. And then they defeated Portland in 7 games with a 4-1 victory in that deciding game. Interestingly enough, the Portland Winterhawks have lost in the final of the WHL 2 years in a row. And Portland moved from Edmonton and were the former Edmonton Oil Kings before. So it was the Edmonton Oil Kings of new defeating the Edmonton Oil Kings of old. As for their team, their leading playoff scorers, both with 19 points in the tie for 6th in the league for playoff scoring. 16-year-old rookie Curtis Lazar, who jumped out to an outstanding playoffs, and regular season leading scorer Michael St. Croix. Now, they're going to have some key players to watch, and if they're going to win, it's going to be by goaltending and defenseman. Goaltender Laurent Brossois is going to be a contender for next year's World Junior, so remember his name. He was second both in playoffs and in regular season with goals against average and save percentage, with 2.04 goals against average in the playoffs, down a little bit from 2.47 in the regular season, so he improved in that category, and his .933 save percentage in the playoffs shows just why Edmonton was able to win the league. On the D-Corps, they have Mark Pesic. You might remember him from the World Juniors. He had 38 points and was a +15 in the regular season. He's a Sabres prospect, drafted 23rd overall in 2010. They also have Oilers prospect Martin Gernat, who was also at the World Juniors for Team Slovakia. He's towering at 6'5" on the back end and had 55 points in the regular season. And they have a top prospect in this year's NHL entry draft in Griffin Reinhart, number 8 on his sweater. Watch for him as the tournament progresses. He was a +14 throughout the playoffs. And as I said before, their forwards, Michael St. Croix, 8th in WHL regular season scoring, one of 8 players in the dub to get 100 points. He had 105. He was drafted last year by the Rangers in the 4th round. And their 20-year-olds, of course, Rhett Raczynski and Tyler Maxwell. Look for them to step up in their final games of their junior careers. They are going to open Friday against the host team, the Shawinigan Cataractes. Now we should switch our focus to the Ontario Hockey League champion London Knights. And Clayton, this is a team that many people believe peaked a year early with a lot of great young talent on their roster.
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie. This London team was quite impressive to watch throughout the year, and definitely have a chance to put themselves in a position that the St. John Sea Dogs are currently situated in, where they've won they're the defending Memorial Cup champions and definitely have a chance to win this year. London could easily put themselves back in that same position. They're definitely one of the top teams heading into this tournament, and a very, very young team that defeated the Windsor Spitfires in the first round of the playoff. 4 straight games they swept them. Survived a bit of a scare in the second round from the Saginaw Spirit. 4-2 they defeated Saginaw after Saginaw led the series 2-1. The first 4 games in that series all decided by a score of 5-2. They defeated Kitchener in the second round, a sweep, 4-0. Everybody thought that series could go the distance after Kitchener gave London a hard time during the regular season, but the Knights scored 18 goals in just 4 games against the Rangers, who were considered one of the top teams to contest against the Knights. And then they defeated the Niagara Ice Dogs 4-1 after losing the first game in double overtime. They won 4 straight after that first game to win the OHL Championship on home ice at the John Labatt Center in London. And this team, Jamie, as I said, they definitely have a young core, but they still have some strong veteran leadership from Captain Jared Tenorti, Scott Harrington, who you saw on the blue line for Team Canada at the World Junior Hockey Championships, Jared Knight, who's a longtime London Knight, Greg McKegg, who they picked up from the Erie Otters at the trade deadline, and Austin Watson, who was the playoff MVP for the London Knights. He was picked up from the Peterborough Petes at the trade deadline. But like I said, this team mostly composed of some good young talent. Max Domi and Bo Horvat, two of the team's top picks from the past OHL priority selection draft. Andreas Athanasiou, who's a top prospect this season for the National Hockey League draft. And the Rupert twins, Ryan and Matt. They definitely are a force to be reckoned with in this season. The two 1994 born players definitely like to feed off each other as they play on the same line. The twins definitely get some stuff going, Jamie, as we saw a couple of times this year. Those guys are pretty impressive to watch.
Yes, they certainly are, and with that young core, they definitely have a future, and they will be a team that a lot of people will be watching for the next couple of years.
Now, one of the bigger stories to go with this team is goaltender Michael Hauser, who set franchise wins record for a goaltender with this team earlier this year, and Austin Watson, who, as I mentioned, came over from the Peterborough Petes and became the playoff MVP for the Knights, pretty much doing everything, scoring goals, killing penalties, shot blocking, just did it all for them. And Seth Griffith, who led the team in regular season scoring, also added another 10 goals in the playoffs. And Jamie, I think this team will just benefit, if nothing else, from their playoff run this year, in which they only lost 3 games this season. Shifting now to the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, to the host team, the Shawinigan Cataractes, who were considered to be one of the top teams in the league and looked to be well on their way to the finals before suffering a defeat in Game 7 of the second round to Chicoutimi. Just not exactly the way the season was supposed to go for Shawinigan, Jamie.
Well, actually, Clayton, the season went as it was supposed to go. They were second. They were neck and neck with St. John. They had 97 points. But the playoffs did not go as they wanted. They were a team many people thought would be in the final, taking on the St. John Sea Dogs, but they lost in that second round to the Rimouski Oceanic. In the first round, they swept Rouyn-Noranda 4-0. Nice, easy work, and then in the second round, Rimouski, with a 3-2 victory in the deciding Game 7, eliminated Shawinigan, who just could not get scoring. Their regular season scoring leader, Anton Zlobin, was 18th in the league with 76 points, and they only had 2 players averaging more than a point per game in the postseason. Their top players facing injuries, Brandon Gormley, who you'll remember was the assistant captain for Team Canada at the 2012 World Juniors, only played 35 regular season games, including a mid-season trade from Moncton, but he did have 32 points in those games, and he had 5 goals and was a point-per-game player, 5 goals, 7 points in 7 playoff games, but he did not play in all 11 playoff games either. And Captain Michael Bourneval only played 41 games in this regular season. He did have 56 points, but he was cold in the playoffs. He did not even average a point per game, 7 points in 11 games played. Interestingly enough, their leading scorer in the playoffs was Kirill Kabanov, who had 13 points, and right behind him was Michel Chaput, who had 12 playoff points and 63 points in the regular season. Now, here is an interesting stat. The goaltending duo of Gabriel Girard and Alex Dubot were second and third in goals against average. Girard, the 20-year-old, with 2.45, and Dubot, a 17-year-old, with 2.56. But it appears as though Dubot has taken the starting job from Girard, as he played 7 of the 11 playoff games. He also played in that deciding Game 7 against Rimouski, and his numbers, unlike Girard, improved from the regular season, and Girard's went down. So for Shawinigan, it will be really interesting to see who starts in net, who does the team trust, and they really need to get a better effort from their team. They need everybody to step up, but they are playing at home, so they do have that home feel, the comfort of playing in a place they are familiar with, and they will have their hometown cheering behind them. They did not win their league, but they still have a very talented squad, and it will be interesting to see if they can bounce back from their poor playoff performance. And they are the only team who has not played since the second round. The other three teams obviously had to win their way in, including the defending champion St. John Sea Dogs. Clayton, you're going to take us through why they are a force to be reckoned with and the favorite heading into the Memorial Cup this year, with a lot of returning players from their championship team last year.
Yeah, Jamie, and just to correct you on one quick point there, it was the Chicoutimi Saguenayens that defeated the Shawinigan Cataractes in the second round of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League playoffs. It was the Rimouski Oceanic who were defeated by the St. John Sea Dogs in the final for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League Championship. And as you said, Jamie, the St. John is the defending Memorial Cup champion as well as the two-time Quebec Major Junior Hockey League champions, and they certainly have the experience to win this thing again. Many of their players went through this entire experience last year as they won in Mississauga for the 2011 Memorial Cup, and they can be the first team to repeat back-to-back Memorial Cup championships since the Windsor Spitfires, who did it in 2009 and 2010. So that'd be quite something to have back-to-back champions. So Stanislav Galiev, Nathan Phillips, Jonathan Huberdeau, Thomas Yurko, definitely the top players to watch for the St. John Sea Dogs. Definitely a very strong team going into this season, or coming into this Memorial Cup. All players that were very strong for them. Galiev, Phillips, and Yurko among the top scorers in the playoffs. Stanislav Galiev led the entire Quebec Major Junior Hockey League in playoff scoring with 34 points. Add into the mix Charlie Coyle, who St. John picked up out of the NCAA over the season. Coyle also had 34 points in the playoffs for St. John, who had quite an easy road by any means to the Memorial Cup. They defeated Cape Breton in the first round, 4-0. Same story with Baie-Comeau in the second round, a clean sweep. Chicoutimi managed to get one game from them in the third round, winning that series 4-1, and then they swept Rimouski 4-0 in the championship final in a series in which they never trailed. They led the entire series from start to finish. And Jamie, it's really tough to argue against this team. Completely steamrolled the competition in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League this year. They were absolutely amazing last year in Mississauga. I don't understand how you can count this team out and how this team could not win again. It seems like they're poised to repeat as Memorial Cup champions.
Yes, all signs point to St. John repeating a dominating regular season, a dominating playoffs, but you cannot count any team out. I believe that the dark horse favorite, the dark horse to pull up an upset against St. John would have to be the Edmonton Oil Kings, with such a solid D-core, and their goaltender could play simply outstanding, especially in a tournament where it is only a one-game series. I think the Edmonton Oil Kings could very well be this year's Memorial Cup champions.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Jamie. Edmonton has just as good a chance as St. John does. But don't count out the London Knights either. Like I said, that team has some experienced leadership to go with that real young firepower. But by the same token, Shawinigan, they may be the host team, and they did come in through the back door, but definitely not a weak team either. They definitely have just as good a chance to kind of play with that chip on their shoulder and prove that, we are as good as you guys, and we probably do deserve to be here.
Yes, you cannot count any team out this year. It will be very interesting to see who will come out and play the best, who will step up to the next level and become the 2012 Mastercard Memorial Cup champions. It all gets underway May 18th, tomorrow, Friday, Edmonton, Shawinigan, and then on Saturday, St. John taking on London in Shawinigan, Quebec.
Thank you, everybody. That's all the time we have for our You're Off the Case Memorial Cup playoff preview show. We'll come back to you shortly with another couple of shows throughout this summer. Keep an eye on us on Facebook and on Twitter. But for now, that's all the time we have for Jamie Shinkewski. I'm Clayton Johns. Thank you for listening to You're Off the Case, the Ottawa Hockey Podcast.